Hey, this is Kugeni, author of the Magnificent Woman book, and today I'm joined in my own terms by a magnificent woman, Valerie Barrow, and she is going to share with us something really interesting. You know how most people, and I know myself, have struggled with this. Sometimes you wonder, am I good enough? You know, how do you know if you're playing small? How do you know if you've got more potential in you? Why is it that we are taught to dim our light? And most importantly, how do we give our power away? Valerie is a medium, and she studied a lot of ancient wisdom, and in herself, to me, I just believe she came with all this knowledge from the stars or somewhere, because some of the things she tells me, to be honest, when we're having conversations over tea, is out of this world to be true. Welcome, Valerie.
Thank you, Jenny. Oh dear. When
Tell
I say
us.
that, it's out of this world. Yes, I like that. In a way, I think it's time everybody realise there's more going on in other worlds and in the universe, and it's very alive with many, many races, star people, if you like.
Yeah.
And they're very real. And they're just like us in a way, as far as the human race goes, is
Yes.
that there are some people that seem to want to pull things down, be negative and destroy.
Yes.
And there are others that want to live.
Build. And we serve the light. We serve the ones who want to love and bring
that's
unity.
right, absolutely. And there are more of those, fortunately.
Yes. So right now, during the time of Corona, a lot of people are having questions. They are asking. They've had to question everything they thought was right. Everything they thought they knew. Because why? People don't have jobs anymore. The relationships is breaking up. They're realizing it's hard to live with their own children.
Yes.
And the teachers are going like, we told you, huh? Your son is hard work.
Yeah.
So it's really good. Everybody has had their fair share of what they needed to learn. But we're going back to that conversation. This conversation where people don't feel good enough. Where did that even come from? Because when you look at the Indigenous and how they lived, people knew who they were. What do you think has been forgotten over time?
Well, that's the thing.
What these answers we're seeking, whatever people are asking now, what do you think people are looking for? Yeah.
Well, firstly, I believe myself that the COVID-19 was meant to happen. Okay. It sounds like a tough thing to say.
Yeah.
But the world's gone through, this earth has gone through many, many cycles.
Yes, true.
And so the most difficult of the cycles have always led to an upraising of the consciousness of the earth and the people.
Yes.
And this is what's happening.
You mean people will change the way they were doing things to start doing things better?
Yes.
The way they used to do it before.
Although things are so chaotic at the moment, you could question that. Yeah. But when we get into the future, firstly, and look back, I'm sure people will think, that was the time, people were actually asked to stop, relax, be quiet, and really start to think, who am I?
Thank you.
Why am I here?
Who am I? Where am I here?
And where am I going?
Yeah, and you know what I'm thinking?
What?
Now they start thinking, all those people like Ageni and Valerie, maybe they're not Fruit Loops after all. Because we are the ones who've asked these questions. Yes. Just out of our own curiosity.
Yes.
And now they're realizing they're asking the questions and we may have the answers for them. So what answers do you have for them?
The answers, well, each one, of course, every answer of who they are is a very individual one and a very personal one.
Okay.
Everybody on this earth in the human race has a soul, and they've agreed to have a certain life, a role, maybe a mission even, but the whole idea when they come is an agreement to help one another, regardless of what their background has been before they came.
Wow.
Right? So that links with the teachings that many have had, is to never judge another. Wow. Because we really don't know the full story, do we?
No.
We only know that if we're only an aspect of who we are, we don't know everything. No. But we can tap in to who we really are from the Creator, and then actually start to ask questions or clarify. Why did this happen to me? Why did this particular bad thing happen to me?
Yeah.
And what am I supposed to understand from it? Or what am I supposed to learn something from it?
Yeah, that is really powerful what you've said. That we all have a soul, and we came here, whether it's on a mission, but what was to help each other.
That's absolutely
That
right.
and that's why I think a lot of people feel so hollow inside,
Yeah.
because everything is all about I help myself,
Yes.
not help others. But we've become a very individualistic culture. Yet in the past, when you look at how the indigenous lives, most people lived, whether it was tribes, but it was about helping each other. It's not living for self, but living for, this is what they say, it's not about me or you, it's about us and we.
Exactly. Yes, that is a very big and important memory to go back to, because deep within all of us, we have that knowing, even from our Indigenous self. We had a beautiful man, an Indigenous man that is an Australian Indigenous man, and he helped us to understand a lot about the customs and cultures of the Aboriginal people of Australia.
Okay.
When I say Aboriginal, I mean Indigenous people, the first people. And in showing that and helping us, he did give us this deeper understanding in the relationship to the earth, the planet Earth in itself. And it was consciousness, and so it was something, this consciousness thing is a bit confusing for people, I think.
Yes.
More people, especially scientists, are looking to see that the brain is not just our consciousness. We've got this other aspect.
Yeah.
And that's what the soul consciousness is about.
Yes.
And we don't have to be divided, it's together.
Yes.
So, and that gives us a broader understanding about everything. So it is about us, definitely, and helping one another. Yeah. We've all agreed to do that before we come.
You've just reminded me, just to add to that, of it's a scientific experiment they did. They were operating on somebody's brain, and they told him something, like they were trying to play with the wiring. And they said, try to move your hand. And what they came to realize, regardless, even though they could manipulate certain wirings of the brain, the person had this, there was another, let's call it an engine, a mechanism that gave him the power to do what he wanted, whether it's to move the hand, regardless of what they were doing in the brain.
Yeah.
And what they came to realize is not what you're calling consciousness. There's another engine somewhere that runs in the background.
Yes.
You know, like look at a cat, look at a dog. They have consciousness.
Absolutely, yes, yes. Well, so does a tree.
So does a tree. and that's what I love about when you talked about the earth. And myself coming from an African culture, the earth is something that was considered to be alive.
Well, it is.
Because it is.
Yes, of course it is.
Some people may need scientific evidence, but there are people who hug trees and feel it. I've met them here. People who walk in nature and they don't know why they connect so well with nature. And what I wanted you to tell us more about is with the earth, because right now is when people have realized they didn't honor the earth.
Yes.
How can we, as you're saying, with knowing what you know, how can we become more in touch with the earth?
How can we? I think it's like this free will thing. It's our choice. It's a choice that we make. Or it's just a natural desire. That's not the right word really, but we want to reach out. And there's so many people, they're such good gardeners. They love growing things. And there are so many others that just enjoy and love traveling so that they feel one when they see the mountains or the lakes or the forests. And when they walk in the forest, they even feel part of it, as if it's all part of one. And it is. It actually is.
We are part of the earth,
I had an Indigenous lady, I wasn't sure if it wasn't you actually, who said about the trees, they have the roots under where we can't see, but they're all touching each other under the earth.
Yeah, and talking.
Said, of course they are. Yes, that's right.
Yeah, and then this tree talked to the tree in the next town and said, Valerie's coming.
Yes, right.
She left. Yes,
well,
they do.
When we talk about consciousness, when you think about it, not necessarily a language, it can be a language.
Yeah.
And it can be science, it can be atoms and cells and all those things. But it's actually, for instance, the knowing.
Yeah.
When a seed drops from a tree or a flower, it knows what to grow back to, the same flower and the same tree. So that's a consciousness, isn't
we
it?
are
So-
we are coming to that, the innate qualities. Yes, I do agree with that. How animals, we don't need to teach animals what to do.
No.
No one teaches a dog to sniff another dog's bum. It does that even though you separate it from its mother on the first day.
Yes.
It just knows what to do.
Yeah.
And it's like a computer. It comes with its own inbuilt qualities.
Yes. That's
And
right.
so what are our inbuilt qualities? And if we come from the creator,
Yes.
what are those qualities we came with that they're already there? We just
Yes.
need to activate pretty much.
Yes, that's right. Exactly. Well, one that everybody has is to save our life. In other
Yeah.
words, it's instinctive
It's
to
instinctive.
be careful
yeah.
about our life and not harm it, not injure the body. That's what
Yeah.
I'm saying.
Yes, I hear you.
So that is instinctive. And there's other things that are instinctive. And a baby's just born, it knows it's looking for its mother's milk. And,
It knows how to suckle. Yes.
That's right. There's many, many things. If you start thinking about it and letting your mind wander, I said mind, not brain. You see, we have this interaction of our soul consciousness with our brain.
Yeah.
Because in the beginning, when we're starting to form as a little embryo in our
Yeah.
mother's womb,
Yeah.
that information that's come from other world or elsewhere,
Yes.
it actually feeding
Yes.
like the roots of the tree with the next tree, and
Sounds
it's
wonderful.
feeding and helping it to grow, and also to have the consciousness of its history that that's experienced
Yes.
from other times and other places.
What I would actually like us to go deeper into in the next video will be the brain-heart connection. Because now when you're talking about consciousness, that's why people go like, am I in my heart, in my brain? But to wrap this up, we want to hear more about the earth. You know how we say we come from the earth, we go back to the earth.
Yes.
And
I want to just say, remember the brain goes back to the earth.
The
too.
brain goes back to the earth.
Yes, that's right.
I just feel there's a bit more out there about the earth. What did the indigenous know about the earth that the rest of the people have forgotten? Until now, more people are spending time with nature. I'm seeing more people going out for walks in nature, but just because they're on lockdown. But however, they're realizing, oh my God, what have I been missing?
Yes, that's right. Well, all these things are the reason that I said I feel that it was meant to happen, although it's a tough one. But what do the Indigenous people know? Well, Jerry helped us to understand that. This is Uncle Jerry. They all call each other uncles and aunts. They all look after the children, and even the mum, the real mum and dad, who are the ones that gave birth to it. That's shared by all the tribe, which is lovely. It's really lovely.
Yeah.
So they understood about spirit in that they knew they could speak to their ancestors.
Wow.
Always.
Wow.
And so if you can speak to your ancestors, they must be still alive.
Yeah.
It's not coming from the past. In other words, there's a reality in other worlds of life continuing.
Yes.
And there's a lot of talk too, if I could just say, with people experiencing near-death experiences. They know, and I've been one of them, that's actually had a near-death experience. In other words, the heart has stopped and you see it flatlining on the heart monitor, and yet you still can think.
Yes.
And you're out of the body, looking back at the body. It's looking very
who is that?
sick, or dead actually. And they do talk about it being alive for a little bit longer, all that sort of thing.
Yeah.
Well, yes, that's true too. But you've got this other consciousness that's very real, and it's observing. It's knowing what's going on.
Yes.
And it can't seem to get through to the people that are already on Earth, still alive.
Yeah.
And that's because as soon as you move away from this world, this planet Earth, and our human race, everything, consciousness and ever communication with other races are all done by telepathy.
Wow.
That's mind to mind. So I talk about mind.
Wow. Wow. Oh, that's amazing. So let's and thank you for sharing all that. Like, what have we lost with time is connection to the earth, connection to the ancestors, forgetting as a soul our innate, whether it's a primal instinct, is to help each other.
Yes, that's right. Yeah.
All that. So with that missing, could it be also part of the reason where people feel they're not enough? Because we have to share with them how why is it that most people don't feel I'm enough? Is it because they're not connected to themselves?
Yeah, well, again, this is a personal journey.
It's a personal
because if you're
journey.
feeling you're not enough, that's very personal, because
Yeah.
you can meet someone that thinks they know everything,
Yeah.
and they probably do.
Or, okay, maybe the way I could ask this better, because I know what it is like to have those doubts. And then I know what it is like to feel so connected that I lack nothing.
Yes, that's right. Absolutely. Well, that's the differences. And so
Is that
I think
making sense? Like, because once you stay connected, as you're saying, but for me, like you have to connect again, you're saying, whether it's through your soul, it's through your ancestors, whether it's through spirit. And it was really funny because I do remember the first time I experienced racism, because I was never had to experience racism. And it's the first time I ever felt I was never enough. Something, you know, but it was a voice from the outside. And I remember, as you're saying, every person's journey is different, but that was my journey. And me reconnecting back to my soul and realizing I am a child of God.
yes, yeah.
And that fixed so much of that doubt.
Yes, yes. Well, that's the secret, Jenny. You don't have to ask me. You know it, and you've actually said it.
Yes.
Because it's just that. It does the fact that we have a reality in that we are children of God, if you like, or we are children of the creative source.
Yes.
We've all come from that.
I see.
Now we have different stories,
yes.
and that's the same as history, you know, when it's recorded. And I remember Uncle Jerry saying to us, when the tribe saw, when a baby was born, they knew that child, which child rather, was the one that was going to be to hold the history and be the storyteller, right?
Yeah.
And so how did they all know that without talking about it? They just knew it. Yeah. And also the child grew with courage and trained, and they went through very, very strict initiations.
Yes.
And also
rites of
sometimes he said,
rites of passage.
Yeah. That's it, rites of passage. And they also had near-death experiences, in that he said that when they actually left and then came back and were very different, they knew that they had been initiated and were communicating and giving messages from the star people, the sky people, they call them. The sky
or
people.
Their ancestors or nature, or because everything is believed to have an essence as well.
Yeah, absolutely. The essence, of course, is
the consciousness of
everything.
everything.
It's everything.
Yeah.
It can be energy, it can be vibration, it can be frequency.
Yes.
It's everything. The essence.
It's like the radio station, whichever you're tuned into.
Yes.
Yes. I hear you.
But it has an aroma as well. It can be switched into an aroma.
That's why sometimes in Germany, if you don't like someone, they say they can't stand each other's smell.
Well,
because apparently on a vibration level, we also have this. That's what dogs can tell us apart.
Yes.
Dogs sniff you out.
Yes, that's right. Yeah. Why did little cat, I watched our little cat goes around and sniffing everything before it even eats.
Yeah. Yes, it's very hard to poison a cat.
Yes, that's right. So, and I think birds are like that.
Not
too.
like I've tried, but just to be clear.
Oh, God bless you. Oh, dear.
That's good. That's really good. I think we'll wrap it up here. So this one, we're just sharing a bit about the earth, taking back your power. And as you say, you have to learn how to reconnect yourself as that child of the creator, because within that, you've got everything you need. You'll never lack anything. And I've shared my own personal story. And it's through that you actually get back your power.
Absolutely. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, and it's not power that's meant to be misused.
Yeah.
It's power that's love and compassion, always understanding, always forgiving.
It's power to help others.
That's exactly right.
Looking forward, the next video will be going deeper into the ancestors. I loved what you talked about that. Then we'll talk about heart and brain as well. But this is one of the biggest things that have been missed out in our modern world, and we can see it with the disconnection of people. There's more depression than there ever was in the history of the planet, more mental illnesses, and maybe the indigenous knew something we didn't, and we hope the ancestors may have some answers for this.
Okay.
All right. Valerie and Kigeni.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, everyone.
Author of The Magnificent Woman. And I'm surrounded by a magnificent woman.
Here it is.